Hello, it's Sandi with eXp Realty, and today we have Kelly Dooley with Cardinal Financial with us. Welcome.
All right, thanks, Sandi, so much.
Yes.
It's been fun. Those of you guys that have been following us, our first episode was the process of getting approved. What does that take? What's it look like? How long? Then the second episode was, okay, we got you approved. Now, what's your best loan type, most cost-effective loan for you and your needs? And now, lastly is, okay, I'm approved. I got my loan type. How do I buy a house? What does that look like? What does it entail? Okay, well, that's what we're going to talk about. So when I get you approved and we figure out your loan type, I email Sandi your approval letter. And there's not a listing out there, a listing agent out there that's going to accept an offer without an approval letter. Because when you make an offer, they're taking that house off the market for roughly 10 days so nobody else can look at it. So you got to know that if you want to buy a house, you got to have the approval letter. So let's say Sandi's got your approval letter. She knows you're good to go and approved at 300,000. You guys start looking around and you see a house and you want to make an offer. You tell Sandi, hey, Sandi, I want to make an offer on this house. Let's do it. So basically at that point, here's what happens. Sandi will draw up the contract and exactly right. Call the agent, offer, and she'll do her thing with the contract. You give an offer. Let's just say for this example, 300,000. It's for sale for 300. You give an offer of 300,000. She will send that to the listing agent. You as the buyer, here's what you do. It's called a option check, right? Say, or in earnest money. And it's for 1% of the purchase price. So in this case, $3,000. You write a check for $3,000. You make it out to the title company where that seller's decided where the closing is going to take place. And Sandi, do you add, is it $250 for the deposit, or what's that?
The earnest, well, you talking about the fee for option?
Right.
Yeah, it depends on each property is a little bit different. It's usually $25 a day equals about $150, $200.
Okay.
Yep.
So yes, so you have to be aware of these out-of-pocket costs. So you're write a check for 1% of the sales price, add an additional $250. That's a non-refundable fee, by the way. And then what happens? The 10-day clock starts. Okay. So that $3,000 deposit buys you 10 days to get the house inspected. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended because what an inspector is going to do is check everything. Foundation, plumbing, electrical, AC, termites. They're going to make sure that house. They're going to point out any defects. And guys, you have to remember, inspectors, it's their job to find fault. Okay, they're going to mark if there's a pencil thing on the wall. But I mean, they're going to look at everything. So, and they know you only have 10 days, so they can turn around an inspection in a day or two. So you get the inspection back, and I think roughly inspections cost $300, $350, something like that. So that's another out-of-pocket cost you need to be aware of. The inspector will give you the report back. Then you get with Sandi and figure out, are there any major issues? Is there a foundation issue? Is the AC work? That kind of thing. So, because that's all negotiable stuff. Let's just say for this example, the inspection came back clean. There's no major defects. So, but you still have 10 days. Let's say you still have 5 days after you got the inspection. You can still sleep on it, think about it, where you want to drive by a couple times. But let's just say for this example, you want to move forward. So you or Sandi will let me know, hey, Kelly, we want to move forward with the house. The inspection came back great. So at that time, I would email you the initial disclosures. They're called initial disclosures. It's all the standard questions, that you're an American or you're a permanent resident alien, you have a job and this is where you work, and et cetera, all the personal stuff. And it'll give you some rough estimates of what it's going to take to purchase that house. And these are all high estimates, guys. You have to know that. And it's important to know that you got to e-sign these or we can't move forward with the process. Okay. So once you e-sign those, then what happens is I will email you the appraisal link. Okay. You have to get an appraisal and the buyer always pays for the appraisal. So what happens is, and those are about $600. Okay. Another out-of-pocket cost you need to know about. So once you pay for that with your credit card, what happens is it's a third party appraisal management company. It has nothing to do with Cardinal. It's a third party. They'll go out and find an appraiser to take on your house that you're trying to buy. They will call the listing agent to set that appointment. They will go out and take all the pictures, do the measurements, etc. They do a full report. And what happens is that takes about 10 days roughly. And they're really good about letting me know when to expect the results back. So I'll let you buyer know, hey, thanks for paying for the appraisal. It's going to be ready on February 1st or something. So you'll know the date that we should get the results. So we get it first. We review it. And then we will email you the full report. It's 30 pages of pictures and measurements. And it's really to look out for your best interest, because this appraisal is it's to make sure if you're buying a $300,000 house that it's worth $300,000 or more. Okay. Now, most of the time, these appraisal values come back at the purchase price or a little higher. Okay. If it comes back a little higher, let's say 305. Nothing changes with your loan structure, the down payment, nothing. It just means you've got $5,000 worth of equity already in your house. Okay. But most of the time it's right at purchase price or a little higher. Now, if it comes in lower, that's a whole nother thing, a whole nother issue. 99% of the time, the appraisals come back price or higher. If it comes back lower, that's a negotiable thing. And we really don't want to do that right now. If you ever want to know, call me or call Sandi and we'll get on the phone. So we get it back. I email it to you. Then at that time, we would email you what's called a preliminary CD. And that will have a little bit tighter numbers of what you're looking at to buy the house. Again, it's not final. These are still high estimates with some of the credits are in there. And then you would sign that as well. So you have an idea of still what's going on price wise. And then about 3 or 4 days prior to closing, and the closing date, when you submit the contract, Sandi will give you an estimated closing date. It's usually 25-ish to 30 days roughly from the day you submit the offer. So you kind of know when closing day is. But in that final CD, again, 3 or 4 days prior to closing, you'll have to the penny what you owe. And that's either in the form of a wire from your bank or a cashier's check. Those are the two forms of payments title companies will take. And that's not to us, it's the title company. Okay. So we had mentioned in the beginning of this, the earnest money, $3,000. That $3,000 you get credit for, okay, for the down payment and the closing costs, when you buy a house. So you've already paid $3,000 towards the closing costs and the down payment. That $600 for the appraisal that you paid out of pocket, you get credit for that as well. So you've already paid $3,600 of the total payment. Now, unfortunately, the inspection, that's on you. We're not allowed to give credit because it's not a mandatory fee. All right. So that whole process of dropping the contract or making the offer to the closing table on average, 25 to 30 days. Can we close sooner? Absolutely. I've seen closings as quick as 15, 16, 17 days. It's really up to you as well, the buyer, because in those weeks leading up to closing, we will be reaching out to you to get bank statements, maybe updated pay stubs, stuff like that. If there is a divorce decree, so you need to watch your email as well, because we need stuff from you, and the quicker you get stuff back to us, the quicker we can get you to the finish line and close at the closing table. But that's really how it works. Sandi, I may go ahead and just address a low appraisal, if that's okay.
Yes, I was about to say, yeah, that'd be great.
Just so you have an idea, again, folks, 99% of the time appraisals come back at price or a little higher. If it comes in lower, for this example, let's say it came in at 290. Okay, you dropped a contract for 300. A couple things can happen. A, we go back to the seller and say, look, the appraisal came in at 290. The seller looks at it and agrees to bring the sales price to 290. Okay, that's the first thing that could happen. They might say, okay, yeah, 290, we'll go with that. So let's say this is a conventional loan. Instead of 5% of 300,000, now you're giving 5% of 290. Okay, so that's that. Second thing could happen. The seller might say, no, I'm not budging off 300 and take it or leave it. And you, the buyer, can say, okay, well, I really want this house. So, you have to still do the 5%, excuse me, of the 290, okay? But have to bring an additional 10,000 to closing to meet that $10,000 gap difference. So, see what I mean? Yep. So instead of the closing costs being 15,000, now they're 25,000.
Right.
Follow me? Or another thing is y'all can split the difference. The seller might come up to 295 and you agree to bring an additional 5,000 to close. That's another option. Or really the last one is the seller doesn't want to budge. You don't want to bring an additional 10,000 and you can walk away and say, sorry, no deal. But if that is the case, you lose the $600 appraisal. That's non-refundable, but you do get your earnest money back of $3,000. Okay, yes. So those are the different options. I don't have to deal with it that much. Neither does Sandi. Most appraisals do come in at value. Does that make sense, Sandi? Did I cover that okay?
Yes, that's perfect, because that's a common question I get especially with first-time home buyers. How do I know that what I'm spending is not too much for this house? So that's the protection all the way around.
Absolutely. So if we're going to give you 300,000 to buy a house, we're looking out for your best interest and our best interest, because we want to make sure it's a $300,000 house. So
yes.
Right now, guys, like we talked about in the second episode, it is a buyer's market out there right now. A lot of sellers getting a little desperate. Their houses are sitting on the market longer. You can give a full price offer, in this case 300,000, but ask for seller contributions, maybe 10,000. Conventional loans, you can go up to 3% of the purchase price. FHA is 6%. You give a full price offer these days and ask for those seller contributions. That's $10,000 off of what you don't have to bring. Hard money. So talk to Sandi, talk to me. We can educate you. We're looking out for your best interests, and we'll make it happen for you. If you're a first-time home buyer or second or third, we got your back. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for educating our buyers and the public on the home buying process. And like, you've taken us all the way from square one in 3 episodes. So I appreciate your time with all this. This has
been fun.
Great. Yeah, it has been. Yes. So I'll be talking to you soon. I'm sure we have something coming up next.
That's right. Thanks, Sandi.
All right. Thank you.